The same thing State did the first time they had the ball. They picked up a yard through tackle, and that's exactly what Edwards did. Edwards coming into the game with 70 carries, averaging 5 yards a carry, 344 yards. B.J. Dickey under center now. In the 17th of his season of 1979, Michigan State's defense right here is operating out of that 70 front, 5-4-2. Their theory is that they play a very balanced defense. Their tackles will either cover to the inside, giving a fast flow to their linebackers, or they cover to the outside and the linebackers stay at home. So Stackowitz now, the leading punter in the Big Ten. You know, he's a lot like Skladany used to be at Ohio State. He punts so long and so far, he outkicks his coverage. Well, he's punting from the Michigan 49. He's angling for the corner, and he may get it. He does get it. A beautiful kick to the Coffin corner at the southeast corner on the 3.5-yard line. A 31-yard kick. I'll tell you, this Roy Stackowitz is some kind of a guy. Oh, number 19, Ray Stackowitz. Well, Michigan has their backs to the wall right now. As the Wolverines, this is the second possession for Michigan. The first time they had it, they picked up exactly 4 yards. And on 4th down and 6, Mr. Virgil got a 31-yard kick. And now Michigan is in deep trouble in that up over the ball comes Lilja. The line follows. It's Mitchell, Parrish, Becker, Lilja, Besnick, Moransky, and Marsh. Edwards deep, Reed close. The I formation. 2 tight ends this time. And B.J. Dickey is asking the crowd to settle down. Only one flanker out this time. And that man happens to be Ralph Clayton from Redford High, the senior, who on this season has caught 6 passes, on his career 57 passes. But there's a timeout down in the playing field here as B.J. Dickey has asked the referee to please have the crowd quiet down. Well, we'll see whether the crowd responds favorably. They realize the new rule in football that they could be penalized, so they're keeping quiet. And it's Edwards deep, Reed close. There's a handoff to Reed. He's up over the 5, and he's hit right there at the 6-yard line. He picked up about 2.5 yards on the play. Larry Reed through the right side. Becker and Lilja trying to open up a hole for their fullback, the senior from Philadelphia, 213 pounds, number 23. Michigan not being able to do much here deep in their own territory. But Michigan State is fired up. It's a home game. They're coming off a dismal loss to Notre Dame a week ago when they were turned every way but loose, 27-3. Michigan, meanwhile, scraped one by California, 14-10. B.J. Dickey sets his team now. He has it 2nd and 8. There is the handoff this time to the tailback, and he's hit right in there. Edwards is hit at the about the 9-yard line. It brings up about 3rd down, and I'd say 4.5. The ball resting 18 yards in from the eastern sideline. For those fans who have been here, it's away from the open end of the field in that the open tunnel end at the northern end. Michigan is back against the southern goal. They have it 3rd down, and this is the second 3rd down situation as B.J. Dickey failed to convert the first one. Wide to the left is Clayton. 2 tight ends, a balanced line. Edwards deep, Reed close. There's B.J. going out to the right, and he pitches off to Edwards down the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and he's knocked out of bounds. Beautiful running there by Stan Edwards, and he can move the 40 in about 4 or 5, and he looked like he might do it right there as he pulled away. And London, did you pick up a block in there?
Well, I didn't pick up the block, Bob, but what I did pick up was Dickey ran that option exceptionally well and went to the last minute, drew the men to him, flipped the ball to Edwards, and it was just a great option run on the part of Dickey.
It sure was. Old Dickey, he loves to run, but he knew that time he sucked them in. They knew he liked to run, and they pulled in on Dickey, and he pitched off. Fine observation, Lendo. Wide to the right goes Mitchell, along with Clayton. It's Edwards deep and Reed close. B.J. Dickey with plenty of running room. 1st and 10 from his own 34-yard line. He hands off to the fullback, Reed, and he's up through the right side behind Becker and Lilja for about 4.5 yards to the 39. So now the ball rests midway between the sideline stripes. No score from East Lansing. Michigan kicked off deep in the end zone. Michigan State didn't return it. State took off on their own 20, picked up a 1st down. Then they had to punt. Michigan failed to pick up a 1st down. They punted to State. State moved down to the Michigan 35-yard line. And then Stackowitz punted out of bounds on the 3.5-yard line. Michigan on 3rd and 5. From inside the 10-yard line, moved out on a beautiful pitch out. Dickey to Edwards down to the 34. They now have it 2nd down and 5. It's Edwards deep and Reed close. There's a hand up to Edwards. He hits nothing but green and white jerseys at the 42-yard line. It's Hermick making his 2nd tackle of the afternoon, the 21st of the 1979 season. State piling up in there. State using, as we said before, their defensive front 5. 5-4-2 are Savage, Webb, Hay, Mitten, and McCormick, the 2 linebackers, Otis and Bass. Milheiser is a strong safety. Anderson, the free safety, with Williams and Burrows at the wingbacks, the cornerbacks. State only flip-flops 2 men, the safety men and the linebackers. They have a middle linebacker and outside linebacker. Dan Bass looks over. B.J. Dickey, who has his team now, 3rd and 2. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Reed close, Edwards deep. There is B.J. going out to the right. He's going to keep it. He has the first down. He has the first down to the 45-yard line. Remember, the series started. Edwards knocked out of bounds at the 34.5. The crowd thought they knocked Edwards back, but the official said, no, sir, it's at the 45. That will be a first down, and we're going to pause 15 seconds for station identification. Over this, the Michigan 0, Michigan State 0 Football Network. B.J. Dickey, 1st and 10 on his own 45. He fakes the read. He's back. He cocks his arm. He throws the bomb to Carter, and it's too far. Nobody can catch it. 2 men covering Carter. It was Anderson and Burrows covering Carter down the center of the field. It was a foot race down there, and Carter outran the 2 defensive men, and had the ball been about 2 yards shorter, Carter might have had it. He has great hands. Bo told me this week, he said, you know, Bob, I've coached a lot of football. I've never had a youngster with hands like Carter. He just seems to sense where the ball is. And you could see that he knew where it was. It was just overthrown, but he had his hands out there ready to catch it. Okay, 2nd and 5. The ball resting 18 yards in from the eastern sideline. It's 2nd down and 10 on the 45. There is B.J. rolling out to the right. He pitches off to Edwards down to the 45, over the 50, down to the 45. It's another first down at the 42-yard line. Edwards coming around the left side of that offensive line, the pulling guard. Besnick throwing a block. Reed moved in there and threw a block on the linebacker. And Edwards has Michigan has their 3rd first down of the ball game. Michigan State has 3. Michigan has 3. This is the furthest penetration by the Wolverines. They have moved the ball from their own 3.5-yard line on that fine coffin corner punt by Stakowitz, all the way down to the Spartan 42-yard line. Wide to the right is Carter. Wide to the left this time is Clayton. It's the I formation. Edwards deep and Reed close. B.J. Dickey under center looks at a 5-4-2. Then B.J. hands off to Reed, and he fumbles the ball, and he recovers. Oh, that hand reached out, and for a moment that elusive pigskin was going to be gobbled up by the green and white, but no sirree, sir. Larry Reed, that Philadelphia senior, just cuddled it back in and got in that fetal position, and there's nobody going to take that ball away from Mr. Reed on that fumble. So the ball rests about 19 yards in from this, the western sideline. 2nd down and 11. This is a key situation. Michigan has moved the ball well on this drive, all the way from their own 3.5-yard line. Wide to the right is Mitchell. Wide to the left is Clayton. It's Edwards deep and Reed close, and B.J. Dickey looking at a 5-man front, pitches off this time to Edwards. He fakes the throw back. Edwards hurdles 1 man, down to 40, down to 35, down to 30, and there's a flag on the play, and that looks like usually a face mask against somebody down there. Jimmy Yannicek, the spotter for State here, said it was a face mask. Usually, when there's a play like that, it's a clipping penalty. But Jim, he's a very astute. Yes, sir, that's a face mask from the 33. That'll move it down to the 18. Call it the 34. It'll move it down inside the 20. Remember, State's furthest penetration earlier in this quarter was to the Michigan 20, where Big Ron Simpkins roared up and dropped Bert Vaughn back on the Spartan 34-yard line on the play following the fact that Michigan State got to the 20. And now Michigan has the ball. They moved it all the way down to the 19-yard line. And check out Michigan's front 7. Mitchell, Paris, Becker, Lilja at center, Arbesnik, Baranski, and Marsh. B.J. Dickey at quarterback. What a drive this has been with the help of that penalty. It's Woolfolk in now at tailback. Woolfolk deep, Reed close. Woolfolk averaging 4.5 yards a carry against 4 opponents. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. B.J. Dickey looks at a 5-man front of Michigan State. And he hands off to Woolfolk. He gets a block. He cuts it to 15, down to the 10, down to the 9-yard line. As Woolfolk lining up back on about the 17, cut over the 15, cut it to 12, over the 10, dropped at the 9-yard line by Danny Bass along with Mark Anderson. He made on the play about 4 yards. It'll bring up 2nd down and 6. 2nd down and 6, the ball resting 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Mr. Woolfolk has had 2 touchdowns so far this year. He had 1 against Northwestern, 2 against Northwestern, and right now 2 wide outs. Clayton at the slot, Carter wide out. Wolfhawk deep. Wolfhawk takes. He's hit the 5-4-3, and he's hit right there at the 3-yard line. And Butch Wolfhawk ramming in there like a bull with a bee in his ear. Picking up blocks up front from our Besnick, Lilja, and Reed up there, isolating on that linebacker, opening up a hole for his tailback, Wolfhawk. And Wolfhawk now and the Michigan team are threatening. There's no score from East Lansing. 1 minute and 55 seconds remaining in the first quarter. It'll be 3rd down and 2. 2 yards away from a first down. 4 yards away from the first score in the ball game. Up over the ball comes Lilja. The line follows 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Wide to the left is Clayton. It's Wolfhawk deep and Reed close. It's B.J. Dickey under center at the 4-yard line. B.J. rolling out. He cuts in, and he's hit right there at the 2. He may have picked up the first down. He needed 2 for the first down, 4 for the touchdown. And now the referee, Mr. Calhoun, is digging into the pile. And Michigan, an official timeout to see whether or not B.J. Dickey on 3rd and 2 picked up a first down. He did. It's 1st and goal at the Michigan State 2-yard line as the Wolverines have moved down some 95 yards from their own 3-yard line to the Michigan State 2-yard line. And the Maize and Blue Daubers are high here in East Lansing right now as Michigan remembers last year's 25-16 score. Up over the ball comes Lilja. The line follows. Mitchell wide out to the left. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Wolfhawk deep and Reed close. B.J. Dickey under center. On a long count from center, B.J. Dickey takes the ball. He rolls out to the right. He pitches off to Wolfhawk, and he's going to be hit. No, sir. Wolfhawk scores. Butch Wolfhawk scores a first touchdown in the 1979 Michigan State Classic. It is Butch Wolfhawk's 3rd touchdown of 1979. The 5th on his career. He had 2 last year in 1978. He had 2 coming into the game here today, and he just climaxed a 96.5-yard drive by Michigan in 14 plays. And Michigan is 14 out of 14 on extra points. It will be Virgil, number 2, who right now on extra points is 10 out of 10. Kneeling is Tony Jackson. If you hear the Bo Schembechler scoring horn in the background, it'll mean that Michigan has a 7-point lead. It's snapped by Lilja. It's spotted by Jackson. It's kicked by Virgil. And it is Michigan 7, Michigan State zip with 1 minute and 3 seconds remaining on the green and white scoreboard. Michigan's 96-yard drive. Edwards 5 carries for 62. Reed 3 carries for 6. Dickey 3 carries for 5. Wolfhawk 3 carries for 11, and the last 2 yards into the end zone. Another great option play by B.J. Dickey. Off to Wolfhawk at the last minute, and Wolfhawk just ran through 2 would-be Spartan tacklers.